So Zoe, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm a senior advertising major in Newhouse, and I'm also in the fashion milestone, which isn't a minor, but it puts you on a track to work in the fashion industry and introduces you to things that you wouldn't necessarily get within your major if you want to focus on fashion advertising.
And what exactly do you have to do for the fashion milestone?
It combines Newhouse and VPA, so you can take classes in fashion reporting, like magazine, advertising, campaigns, how to put together fashion videos, and then on the VPA side, you can take classes in fashion design and different things that go into production that majors in VPA would focus on. So it kind of gives you a more broad sense of the fashion industry. And since it is partly a Newhouse, it complements my major, and I've learned different techniques that I haven't learned in my general advertising major that pertain more to what I want to do in fashion.
And did your major influence you to go into fashion, or was that something you knew you wanted to do before starting your advertising major?
It was definitely something that I came in with knowing I wanted to pursue, but my advertising major showed me that there were a lot of different ways to go into promotions and like even things related to PR, even though that's not my major, and different things with VIP and sponsorship. So it definitely broadened what I thought fashion advertising was, and now I can see myself in different aspects of it.
And how did you get your start in the fashion world, and how did you get your internships?
I was really interested in fashion in high school, and I had this lame blog that I would write on, and then when I came to college, I started doing Zipped magazine, which was run by a lot of people that I admired, and I talked to them about their internships, and they kind of helped me get my foot in the door at certain places, and I was pretty early to interview at places. So after freshman year, I didn't intern anywhere. But then after sophomore year, a couple of professors helped me get together edit tests and things like that that were supplementary to interviews. And I ended up interning in digital strategy at Tory Burch, which was related to my major pretty directly, and I was able to work on campaigns, social media, and even revamping the Tory Burch Foundation, which was interesting because it wasn't necessarily fashion, but it complemented her brand well and gave me kind of an outlook on different things that go into a fashion brand that don't necessarily have to do with only the clothing.
Do you think your blog helped you with that? Getting your name out there and getting yourself comfortable in that world?
I think making me more comfortable with writing and networking and things like that, but I don't write on it anymore. So it was just kind of a beginning thing when I hadn't had internships or wasn't involved with Zipped or other things that I've gotten to experience. So it was definitely a good stepping stone, and it taught me how to communicate better. And it kind of gave me an edge when I did get my first internship and I had to write things. So it was helpful.
Would you recommend others who are going to be or trying to be in your position to start a blog, or do you think that's unnecessary in today's world?
I think it's unnecessary now because you can kind of do the same thing on Instagram and, well, mostly Instagram, just by posting your outfits and tagging brands and getting their attention that way rather than writing some full-length piece on it. I think it's shifted toward more visual rather than just only writing. So I think it won't hurt to have a blog. It's really good to have a portfolio, and people will ask you for your work online in addition to your resume, even if everything is on there. So it's nice to have that writing piece, but I think you can really do the same thing on social media.
So social media is a really big part of fashion now,
Yeah.
would you say?
Mm-hmm.
So can you name some of the places you've worked at and had internships at?
So I started at Tory Burch, which I kind of gave an overview on. I was in digital strategy, and I really enjoyed that. And then my fall of junior year, I interned at Diane von Furstenberg, but this time I was in PR, which was really different because I was doing a lot of sample trafficking and communicating with different magazines and media outlets to kind of get the DVF name out there, and we did a lot of styling, which was a lot more hands-on than the digital work that I had done, but I really enjoyed it. It was super fast-paced, and it taught me more of what I don't want to do, but I'm happy that I got to see it, and I have a lot of good stories to tell from there, so I enjoyed it. And then this past summer I interned at Theory in retail marketing, which was kind of a mix of PR and the digital strategy work that I did. So it was cool to combine those two things and plan in-store events and campaigns and things like that, and kind of see how everything worked from a retail perspective rather than like the entire brand.
Well, it's awesome that you got to see kind of all sides of the fashion world with a bunch of different brands. Can you tell me your favorite place you worked?
I think the most exciting was DVF because I was doing a lot of VIP and I got to meet celebrities, and it was fun to kind of walk into the room and not know who would be in the fitting room or who you'd be bringing samples to that day and delivering to people's hotels and apartments and things like that. But I think the most valuable work that I've done was at Theory because I didn't ever feel like an intern, and they brought me back for winter break and things like that. And I was doing a lot of technical things that I was able to learn more about while I was there. Like, for example, Excel, I didn't really know anything about that when I got there, but I left with a pretty strong knowledge of certain things that can really stand out on a resume. So I think professionally that was my favorite internship, but fun-wise and excitement-wise, it was DVF.
Who's the coolest person you had to dress for DVF?
The coolest person I had to dress. There were a lot of cool people, but one of the most interesting was Caitlyn Jenner because it was so current and we were so not worried about what was going to be on the rack for samples, but we were like, what kind of sizing is this? What are we doing? How is it going to work? But everything ended up working out, and I was just kind of in awe.
And she's tall too. Did you choose a long,
short?
Yeah. Long.
But the wrap dress kind of works for everyone.
The wrap dress does work for everyone.
That was lucky.
So where can you see this like leading you in the future? Do you want to work in fashion forever? Do you know?
I definitely want to move back to New York and work in fashion. I was going back and forth for a while because it's just so crazy and chaotic and people move around like you couldn't imagine. But I think that's something I like about it. I kind of like always being in the center of like a chaotic environment and trying to keep everything stable. But I think I could see myself working in it forever. It's something that I've always loved, and my family was in fashion, so it's kind of, I grew up with that mindset and I enjoy it. So I'd like to grow into a higher position and kind of be the people that I look up to now.
I ran out of questions. So what's the least favorite thing you did and where was it?
One of my least favorite things to do, and both were at DVF, was doing press clippings every morning because they had to be sent in so early, and they weren't only sent to people in the New York office, but in Europe and Asia, and they all had different time zones, of course, so it was like you needed to get everything to everyone before they left the office. And it was a lot of press both for DVF as a brand and as a person, and she also had that show House of DVF on E! At the time, so that threw a lot into the mix, and it was just tough to divide things between her personal life and her brand and her TV show, and to make sure that we got all of it. But I know a lot of fashion brands are similar in checking the same newspapers and media outlets, so we would check the New York Times every day, the Post, the Daily News, and the Wall Street Journal, and we wouldn't just check them online, we would pick them up from Casa magazines, which was down the street, and it was kind of annoying because they would never pay the man on time, and he would yell at me, but I had no power in doing that, so I never wanted to pick up the papers, and especially go through them, but we always managed to get them sent in on time. And the other thing that was my least favorite was tracking samples in Fashion GPS because I wasn't there every day since I was an intern and going to school. And on the off days, different interns wouldn't log things or wouldn't check things back in. And we would get confused on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays who was doing what on Tuesday and Thursday. So it just kind of became all these barcodes everywhere. And we weren't sure if things were in the showroom or the sales closet or out of random magazines. So it was always like, where's look 15 or where's look 16? And we needed in 5 minutes. So Fashion GPS wasn't as organized as some other places that I've interned at, so that was definitely a huge pain there, and I was always freaking out because of it.
Did you ever feel like Anne Hathaway in The Devil Wears Prada?
More so with errands that I had to run, just finding certain books, or like when not like when she had to find a manuscript for Harry Potter, but I got sent out once to find this rare Coke can for some event they were having that they forgot to order, and it was like I was running uptown to some convenience store and they didn't have enough, so I was like going cross town and they were like, oh, there's one in Brooklyn, and it was just like a huge time crunch, but everything managed to get done, and after that you feel like you're on top of the world, but during it's like I just want to die.
So would you say that's the craziest errand you've ever run?
Probably one of them. Another thing that was super confusing was dropping samples off at hotels or apartment buildings, and especially for celebrities, because they don't check in with their name, they use an alias, and sometimes they wouldn't tell us what the alias was, so you're just standing there describing the celebrity, and you know that the concierge knows who it is, but they can't say, oh yeah, this person's staying in our hotel. So it was always a battle, like, okay, well, what's their name? Like, oh, call their publicist, and like you don't have every publicist number in your phone as an intern, so that was always kind of crazy, but then it was fun to learn celebrities' aliases. I don't really remember any of them, but probably if I thought hard enough I could.
So what's a good piece of advice that someone gave you that you would like to pass on to others?
I think the best thing you can do is stay in touch with people that you've worked with, because like I said, people move around so quickly and it is a crazy industry, and people are going from brand to brand, and there might be somewhere that you've dreamed of working at that your boss moved to or knows somebody at. So I think you have to do every task, even if I hated Fashion GPS and I never wanted to do clippings. You have to treat that the same way that you would treat your favorite task, and so you can make a good impression and people don't ever feel like it's a burden to do a favor for you when you need one.
All right, well, I just want to congratulate you on getting a full-time job at Theory, and
Thank you
for your time.